Well, we think the FAA has been manufacturing a financial crisis. This whole user fee issue and all that just seems to be a way for them to try to generate income away from Congress so they can operate as they see fit without having any real oversight. And that really concerns us, and I think it should concern the general aviation industry as well. There was a GAO report that said the FAA actually has enough money to operate the system. But if you see
that's been very well documented, actually, by a number of outside agencies.
Yep.
So the general aviation community that has been asked to pay more for the services that we're getting, and yet we're finding out that the services are being withheld, in part through allowing the services to deteriorate and not listening to the folks who operate those systems.
Exactly. In fact, every time we try to bring up our issues and concerns, basically we're just excluded from meetings, and that's happening on a daily basis. It is my job as the P.A.S.S National Assistant to actually perform negotiations at the national level, and there's even some people that I've been dealing with that see that this approach is not working. However, general aviation really needs to understand the facilities that they're left to operate, and basically all the attention is being paid to 34 major airports that the FAA calls the OEP airports. And basically, if there's not commercial traffic, the FAA doesn't care. I hate to say it, but that's the way it's looking.
You're not the first organization we've heard that from. There's a robbing Peter to pay Paul mentality, but the problem is that once one section deteriorates, it's awfully hard to recover, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's kind of, I like to liken it to the game Jenga. If you've ever played Jenga, it's where you stack up the blocks, and you take away a block from each level for each turn. And at one point, the system's going to come crashing down. And we're close to that point. They've got it about halfway out, and we're on shaky ground right now. General aviation is not where they're spending the money. They're spending the money on commercial aviation airports right now. But there's even commercially, they're not spending the money that Congress has allocated to them. And again, the testimony that we did 3 weeks ago with Congress pointed that fact out, that the agency did not spend the money that Congress actually was able to allocate to them. So this is by design. There is a reason they're doing it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm also a VFR pilot. I feel that they're trying to squeeze general aviation out of the NAS so that they're no longer responsible for general aviation aircraft, much like in Eurocontrol or NAV Canada. It's going to be very difficult to fly in the United States over the next few years.
Aero-TV is brought to you by Cirrus aircraft have always been easy to fly. Now they're easier than ever to buy. A complete line of ownership programs gives you everything you need to purchase, trade, finance, lease, insure, and warranty your Cirrus. There's even an ownership program for non-pilots. The Cirrus Access Pilot can teach you how to fly, or fly the plane for you. Find out more at www.cirrusdesign.com. Cirrus, for the love of flying. Now, back to Aero-TV.
I work at the flight service in Bridgeport, and I remember an incident where they, back in February, they waited till late in the evening to do a planned rollover of the service from the Bridgeport Flight Service, which runs through the Ashburn hub, and they simulated a power outage, I assume it was something along those lines, to roll over the service into Fort Worth. At that time, Fort Worth took over any calls coming in from the East Coast, and several calls came in concerning the Washington, D.C. ATIS area, which has got a lot of flight restrictions in that area. And unfortunately, information coming out of Fort Worth to general aviation was erroneous and caused several issues because the general aviation pilots were getting erroneous data from personnel at Lockheed Martin who were not familiar, obviously, with what the ATIS requirements were in Washington, D.C. To bring it to even a more simple, basic line, let's say, of a problem, I personally attempted to call the Ashburn hub with an internal number that I have access to, not general aviation, to determine whether a facility at Bridgeport was actually NOTAMed out of service prior to giving a certification exam to another FAA employee. It had never been NOTAMed out. It took me over 40 minutes to get through, and I never was able to. I contacted my local tower to find out from them if they had received a notice of a NOTAM for that facility. They had not. In the long run, it had never been NOTAMed out, even though we were given a release by the New York TRACON. There's a lot of communications problem with Ashburn. I think the reality of trying to take multiple flight service stations who are very knowledgeable about local weather, local area, and centralize them into central hubs is going to not work very well. And in my personal opinion, 5-7 years down the road, the 16 legacies that are left will be gone, and Lockheed will be trying to run the entire country from 3 hubs. I don't see it happening.
Aero-TV is brought to you by...
Today, there is an affordable, high-performance, easy-to-own and easy-to-operate very light jet designed with you in mind. Far less expensive than any other twin-engine jet to buy, it is also the least expensive to own and operate. It is the Eclipse 500, the jet that's easy to buy, easy to fly, and fun to own. The jet for you.
Now, back to Aero-TV.
I think the number one question that general aviation pilots should be asking is, why are their systems not being restored? Why is there delayed restoration? Why are they not provided the same navigational communication facilities today that they had enjoyed 5-10 years ago? Why is the agency not spending money on general aviation?
Okay, good one.
As a taxpayer, as well as all the general aviation pilots and the people in the general aviation business, I guess the basic question of Congress is, with all this restructure and this modernization that we're undergoing under private contract, are we actually saving any money, or is it going to cost us more in the long run? I personally, going to cost us more in the long run. Ask your congressman, look into it. It's your money.
So the United States currently operates the largest and safest national airspace system in the world. My question would be, why do you want to privatize it? Why do you want to fool with it when it works?
In other words, if it isn't quite broke, why fix it?
Exactly.
Well, folks, you've heard it here. An impassioned plea on the part of folks that, frankly, are covering our tail feathers, looking for a safer and better system for us all. We're going to take a look at this over the next few weeks and months. We'll look at both sides. We'll discuss this with elected officials, with FAA, with DOT, with folks on both sides of the argument. In the meantime, 4 good questions. Think about them. Take them to your elected officials. Take them to your representatives and in your dealings with the FAA. Let's see what they have to say. These folks went on the line. They stood in front of here, and they let fly. Now it's your turn. For Aero-News and for Aero-TV, I'm Jim Campbell.